Welcome to the Building Up Women in Property podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Bangura, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. This podcast is for ambitious women who work in property and construction who want to learn how to have a career they love on their terms. Join me every week where I'll leave you excited and confident to take your next steps. Thanks for being here with me. Now let's get started. Hello, thank you for joining me here today. I know you could be listening to millions of other podcasts and you are here with me, so thank you. Now, today I want to talk about a topic really near and dear to my heart, and it's this idea of being the nice girl, or perhaps more precisely, how we stop being the nice girl, why it's so important for our careers, our self-perception, and perhaps more importantly, how we create the results and the career and life that we actually want. And this conversation is one that I've wanted to have for a while. And I'll be honest with you, I've been a little bit scared of how to talk about this issue because it really does talk to the struggles that women face in the workplace and in society, and particularly within the male-dominated space. These are experiences that I've had personally with a career of almost 2 decades in property and construction. And these challenges are really deep-rooted in the patriarchal system that we all exist within. Whether we openly acknowledge it or not, there is so much sexism and misogyny and unconscious bias that we as women are facing every day of our lives. I don't know any woman who has not experienced one or all of those things in her personal and in her professional life. It is even more prominent when you work in a male-dominated field where you actually have to face the sexism, the misogyny, the being spoken down to on a constant basis. And I want to do a little shout out because the reason I'm actually recording this and actually finally talking about this is because I just saw Julia Gillard speak at her Not Now, Not Ever event, which marks the 10-year anniversary of her famous misogyny speech, which she gave in Parliament to the then opposition leader. If you've never seen that speech before or it's been a while, I really urge you to go back and watch this, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But it is such a powerful speech. Julia Gillard was the first, well, she still is the first and only female Prime Minister Australia has ever seen. But in this speech that she delivered on the floor of Parliament, she really spoke to the undercurrent of misogyny, sexism, and quite frankly, disgusting behaviour that existed in Parliament and perhaps more broadly in society. And whilst I think some things have shifted in the last 10 years, there is still such a long way to go. And when I rewatched this, I was thinking about how much has changed in my industry, in property and construction over that time. There have definitely been changes, a lot more. We talk about women's roles, we talk about equality, diversity, inclusion, a lot more. But in terms of real meaningful change, there is still so far to go. There is so much work to be done. And that's why I finally plucked up the courage to have this conversation with you, because I think it's crucial that we all do talk about these things more openly, and in doing so, we can actually create change together. But as I said, working in a male-dominated space for such a long time, it becomes a real skill to learn how to deal with the boys' club that exists. And property and construction in Australia, and I think in most parts of the world, is a boys' club, undoubtedly. I know from personal experience there is a real tendency to internalise how we deal with the misogyny and the sexism and the challenges that we face. I know I developed a really thick skin and, I was always being told, you've got to be tough if you're going to survive in this industry and all that type of rhetoric. But that's exactly how I did try and push through. I really did try and develop tactics to survive and to prove myself and to be taken seriously in the industry. And I think back to where I was in my career 10 years ago. I was 29. I'd been doing this work for a little while. It was around this period that I actually had 2 particular bosses who I would describe as misogynists. I say that with the caveat that I've also had some amazing leaders and bosses throughout my career, but I have 2 in particular that I really struggled with. It took a toll on me personally, and at the time, I found it very hard to use these words like misogynist or openly call out sexism. Instead, I made it a reflection of me rather than a reflection of them. And that was to my detriment, because what it actually did was it eroded my confidence. I started to doubt myself. I burnt out, and I absolutely lost the joy of the work I was doing. And whilst I still loved the work I did, all of the joy and all of the fun, it was lost. I struggled so much with how to have any sort of alignment or balance in my work and in my personal life. And it was a tough period in my career. And to be honest, it was really formative to actually leading me to being a coach down the track, because what I experienced then and what I really struggled with became the basis of the work I do now with my clients around finding your voice, stepping into your power, and actually creating a career and life on your terms. But at the time, actually dealing with these challenges in the day-to-day and existing in an environment where I was seen as lesser, or I was expected to fit a certain stereotype or mold of being the nice, obliging girl who gets on with it and doesn't say too much and doesn't challenge anyone. It was a real juggle and a struggle as to how I could achieve the professional success I wanted to and really follow my ambition and my dreams and my aspirations and do it in a way that felt genuine and authentic to me, but also where I could get the respect and the buy-in of people who inherently didn't want me to be there. And whether that was a conscious or a subconscious thought that they had, I can now look back on this with hindsight and see that this was absolutely a reflection of their thinking and not my performance. But that's with the value of hindsight. I hope you've been enjoying the episode. I wanted to take a moment to let you know about my free Career Confidence Masterclass. This is for ambitious career-orientated women who are ready to stop playing small and to confidently create a career you love. Head over to my website, beautifuldisruptions.com, for more info. Now let's get back to the episode. When I talk about this juggle, I think what the challenge is for us as women, our society is very much built on this concept and stereotype of what it means to be a girl. And we have these two distinct and polar opposite expectations. We have the good girl who is polite and accommodating and caring and supportive and obliging. And then at the other extreme, we have the bad girl, and she's defiant and bossy and bitchy. No one wants to be that. Being that bad girl is not considered a good thing. And as we get older, those stereotypes that we are brought up with as young children, they just continue to be applied as we grow up, as teens and as women. And so we see ourselves continuing to feel like we need to fit into one of these two molds. We need to be that nice girl or that nice woman who gets on with people and has the validation and the praise and the respect of others, or we get to be the bitch who does what she wants, doesn't care, and is ambitious and overly assertive. All of these traits that men quite often have and aren't viewed negatively, they are viewed very poorly when it comes to women. And as a woman, and particularly as an ambitious woman, there is this constant struggle between what we want, what we're told is acceptable for us to want, and the challenges that we actually face in our workplaces. And we are constantly trying to deal with that. And the truth is, as an ambitious woman, you cannot have a successful career on your terms and be the nice girl. It is actually not possible. We need to actually step away from that nice girl identity and that mentality that we've been trained into having. And instead, we need to demand that we are respected and valued for the amazing contributions we make in our organizations and our industries and in our societies, as well as in our home lives. We need to stop accepting thank yous as a form of currency and start demanding money in the same way our male colleagues do. And whilst we shouldn't have to fight for this, the truth is we do. We are still at a point in time where we have to fight for equity. And this is about having the confidence to speak up, having the resilience to actually keep tackling the challenges, and the mindset that sets us up for success And we also need the practical strategies to deal with the bullshit and the belittling and the harassment that often comes with the role, that often comes with our roles. Whilst it shouldn't be that way, the truth is for so many people, it is. We want to actually empower ourselves. We want to take our power and use it to move us forward instead of keeping us stuck. And we need to stop consciously or subconsciously seeking approval and validation from other people. And we want to do this in a way that empowers us and allows us to stand in our strength in an impactful way for us. That's when we can really create change for ourselves on a personal level, but also for those around us. And it's when we stand in our power and we stop trying to conform to this nice girl expectation that we can finally find that mix and alignment between our work and our lives that brings us joy and fulfillment in both areas. But none of this is possible if we keep trying to fit the mold and to appease other people. And the longer we spend trying to seek validation and approval from others, the longer we will spend feeling stuck and frustrated and unhappy. So let this be your invitation or your call to drop this nice girl image. Let people see that cool strength and anger and clarity in you that demands to be taken seriously and calls out the bullshit and demands what she wants and what she needs, because we all need to join together and do this in our own individual way, because by each one of us breaking from this mold, that is how we create change for all of us. And coming back to Julia Gillard, I saw her speak and reflect on the power of that infamous speech. And one of her key reflections was that she wished she'd spoken up earlier. She said that she'd thought the sexism and the misogyny and the rhetoric would stop after the initial period of coming into power. But what actually happened was it intensified and the commentary got dirtier and more aggressive and more outrageous. And she really spoke to the challenge of when do you call things out, knowing that you will be judged and people will say you're calling the sexism card or the gender card. And I think my reflection on that was we need to nip these things in the bud. We need to stop even tolerating it for a second. We need to use our voices and change the tone of the conversation early. And so I want you to think about this. Think about your voice. Are you using it? Are you stepping up and standing up for yourself? And I think of this as being like a toolkit that makes us resilient and is something we practice and we build that toolkit. And it's essential that we all have this so we can draw from it when we need to, because this is what it's going to take for us to create change and to actually bring down this patriarchal system that sees women as lesser and that gives women less opportunities and less recognition. I get so fired up about this topic, and this really is why I do the coaching work that I do. I think we each need our voice and we need those skills and the tools to be able to confidently speak up, challenge the norms and advocate for ourselves. So if you are struggling with this nice girl identity and what the new version of you looks like, that powerful, cool, focused version of you who gets the results she wants, I want you to reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn and say hi, because I would love to support you. And I know that this is not easy to step away from other people's expectations and that nice girl mold, but it is essential if you want to create that career and life that you love on your terms. That's enough of a rant for me, but have a beautiful day. Stop being the nice girl and get on and demand the life and career that you want. You got this. Thanks for joining me on the Building Up Women in Property podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, I'd love for you to take a moment and review the show if you found it helpful, or share it with a few friends. Thanks again. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.